You are viewing the long-promised Copernicus book entitled Immediate Eternity, and its accompanying CD, also entitled Immediate Eternity, released by Nevermore Inc. in December of 2001. On January 3rd, 2002, journalist George Gilson at the Drake Hotel in New York interviewed Copernicus for approximately 3 hours, and we are presenting that interview in 28-minute slots here on Art Axis. Mr. Gilson had interviewed Copernicus in the past on the evolving manuscripts as the book was being written, but this is considered the final interview regarding immediate eternity. You are now going to view part 3 of that interview. Thank you.
It's my definition. It's my book.
So you're the master.
I get to do that in my book, right?
Right. Okay. Does existence equal stability then?
Does existence? Sure. If I could be the same Copernicus now, and the 5 minutes later be the same Copernicus, that would be something that.
Well, what about the theory that everything
boring
is
as hell, probably? But
how can there be, if everything is changing? Oh, everything is changing except for this. Is that it?
Except for what?
This.
Ma,
I guess. Yeah.
well, everything would be built of
This
from Ma.
unchangeable.
Everything is
most
made.
basic particle.
That's the basic particle from which everything would be built. That's a theory which is not something that I really like to get too much into, but the interesting thing is that modern science is today really emphasizing this whole world of dark matter now, and they're really focusing in better, closer on to it.
By the way, when you say the brain is the organ, the mind is the brain at work, is that a little bit of a slip into Illusione here? Why have to devise a new word for molecules moving if it's just subatomic molecule or atoms, subatomic atoms? Why talk about
Well,
atoms?
the brain is the thing that's the brain is the organ that is actually directing and leading this Illusione body, right? And it's the brain itself is Illusione, but there is something in when the brain starts to work, it becomes another force called the mind. The idea is that the brain creates; it's not the organ itself. Start off with a question.
Yep. We're talking about the relationship now between your theory, being conscious of a subatomic level, and everyday life, albeit on the level of illusion, as you would call it. Give me a little bit of a sense of how you see that working. How can this affect us?
The danger, let me answer now. The danger that when we see people resorting to violence, these people are trapped in Illusione. That's the problem. They're trapped there. If they had a cosmic view of the world, if they realized that the Earth was moving through the universe at 1 3/4 million miles per hour, and that the atoms in their body were moving around at the speed of light, I don't really think that they would get down and act in this Stone Age way that they've been acting. Okay, this whole idea of understanding the universe would go away. But people don't want to hear this. Even educated people don't want to hear this. People love their Illusione, and it's very hard. Even I'm really talking about educated people. People like yourself, George. You're attached to Illusione. You love it. or anybody. I mean, I take even my brother. I mean, all of these people, they love their illusione, and you are not going to pull them away from it. They're committed. Maybe their children, there's a chance. Maybe their children, I see now that the children are learning about atoms. Atoms are becoming a part of, guys in the 5th, 6th grade, they're learning about atoms. When you were in 5th and 6th grade, I don't think you were learning about atoms. I know I wasn't. And so it's this information, these ideas will come easier for them, and it's much easier for them to accept. Now, my mother is 84 years old, and she's reading this book, and she got to page 80, and she says it's very well put together. But when she says, "Oh, this is about science," oh, I don't like science, and okay, so she doesn't like science, and she puts all of these ideas into the category of science.
Because she's been taught not to like science.
She has
because science has been made boring for her
had a mental
by
block.
stupid teachers who don't understand
She's had a mental
the
block
connection
about
between
science.
illusiona and ma.
They don't, but you know, science it really does try to explain how things work, and why wouldn't that be the right way to start to begin to build a vision of what is real?
Because you have to be a teacher, you idiot. You have to understand the limitations of your students. If your students, if your readers, if your audience, whoever they may be, whether it be one person or 10 billion, are conditioned in a certain way of thinking, you can't just throw that away. You've got to take it off in a striptease. Bit by bit you take it away, and you bear reality, because reality, when you take it and you bear it, it's like a burning light. You can't look at it. It's like the sun.
Okay. But
you look at it and you get blind if you continue.
This can't be a process of somebody doing something to you. You know, you're supposed to be doing most of the work on your own. This is the problem. The last Christian was Jesus. I mean, you know, he taught all these things, but he didn't do it to them. And they didn't reach. Nobody's reached the poor guy halfway. You know, to at least give him the respect that they are going to follow what he says. No, they're going to get their airplanes and go bomb people in the Stone Age. Okay, because in their imagination there is no other way out. And again, the Palestinians in Israel, they have no other way out other than to blow up little children in Israeli buses. And of course, Israelis, they have no other way out but to kill the leaders of the Palestinians. And
why do you think there's been so little moral progress, if you will, over these
years? Why? Because of these wars, and wars are most wars are really very selfish acts committed by leaders, real leaders going on real ego trips. Sometimes it's not even ignorance. I mean, they just like this. You know, they're having fun.
You know, one of the things I noticed is that when you have it in for some groups, the groups that you really have it in for, if you will, are the priests and the political bureaucracies. You hardly ever mention the plutocracy.
On the contrary,
you do talk about the greed is good gang. Okay.
On the contrary,
you talk about the greed is good gang.
The oligarchy. You're talking about the oligarchy.
Well, no, exactly.
So, I mean, I've talked about that constantly throughout this book.
The oligarchy of wealth.
Yeah.
All right.
And power.
Yeah, but it's not political. It's wealth.
The priests are a lower level of that.
The political apparatus is basically the servants of wealth, aren't they? The politicians, if you will.
Of course, and so are the priests.
They're the servants. So are the priests, unfortunately. Yeah, that's the problem with religion. The priests are sold out to the money men.
Yep, they've always been that way. They don't go anywhere. That's what they do. They don't do anything else.
Except, I think, for the monks and the nuns. Or at least some of them.
No.
Some of them.
No.
Some of them.
The nuns that I know, and my sister is a nun, I think they're all sold out, to tell you the truth. I don't really see them as being so holy, actually.
Well, one of the prerequisites, theoretically, for becoming a Christian monk or nun is to have nothing. To have no... Isn't it?
Yeah, and they resent it all their life.
Do they? Tell me about your sister.
No, I don't want to get into that. That's
well, no, I don't want.
I terrorize her sufficiently.
Well, no, I don't want to get
in a private way, and I got to do it publicly.
No, I don't want to get personal. But talk more generally. What do you think goes on there? Is it possible to try to, because these people theoretically are supposed to be doing what you're saying. They're supposed to deny their ego. Know me first. Know me.
No. They're not supposed to deny their
God.
ego.
Just God. I'm here. I'm here to look at God. It's almost like you. Like you. Excuse me. Don't shake your head at me before I say. Don't shake your head before.
They have identity. Don't compare Christian monks to a Copernicus, please.
Sure, you're a Christian. You're a Christian monk.
You're out of your mind.
You're a Christian.
Well, this is because this interview is failing to get to the essence of what Copernicus is.
No, it's getting very much to the
I don't
essence.
think it's getting there. I think the person who's watching this interview hasn't a clue what Copernicus is all about.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, why don't you explain what Copernicus is all about? Who else better equipped to do that?
Copernicus is about the loss of identity based on the movement of atomic particles in a person's body, where we realize that what we perceive with our bare senses is not real, and that it is an illusion. And then accepting that, we acquire the freedom to just be a spontaneous expression of what we are at every moment.
What's the difference between praying in your room, feeling and being one with God, and being in your Magava chamber and looking through your magic Walt Disney glasses and seeing the subatomic molecules?
There are many differences, but one of the main differences that the God that that religious person is perceiving is this God in heaven who looks something like a human being, and he is in heaven, that there is a heaven, and definitely that this religious person is sacrificing themselves on earth so that when they die that they will go to heaven and not go to hell. And that's massive different from Copernicus, who is attempting to feel and communicate.
What's the same thing?
Let me answer the question.
Yeah.
Who is attempting to communicate with the vital force, not of the universe, okay? And knowing that he has no identity, that he cannot go to any heaven because this is heaven right now, and there is no hell, and there is no identity, and there's no reason for me to go and steal that man's money because I won't be the one to get it because I don't exist. And the beauty of living is in the spontaneous expression of what I am at every moment, and to accept that without identity. These religious people are embedded with identity, and it is their defect. It is their downfall. It's a sad situation, and as much as you talk to them, they will just laugh at you.
That's not the theory of the thing, though, Copernicus.
That's your misunderstanding of either Copernicus or them. But don't compare Copernicus to a religious monk.
No, it's perhaps their misunderstanding of what they're supposed to be.
No, the whole philosophy of Christianity is identity. It's embedded with identity, and that's where its great downfall is. Christianity is bankrupt.
Not so much Eastern Christianity, though. You're much more familiar, understandably, with Roman Catholic Christianity. In fact, you don't even mention Eastern Christianity. in let's say the second, third century in the Middle East, Palestine, and so forth, where you had these anchorites, the people who left and went into the desert to become ascetic types through prayer to become one with God. That's basically we call it in Greek theosis, which is not it's sort of like approaching God. It's not becoming God, because that would be blasphemy. But
yeah, but there's nothing wrong in that.
It's almost what we were saying, feeling the atoms.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what they're supposed to be doing.
And if it's authentic and sincere,
that's the goal.
Yeah.
That's why I was talking about monkishness before, in that sense, not in the sense of I don't know, this heaven, but heaven. Okay, heaven. What we have a sort of a renaissance or conceptions of heaven through art, because we think, as you note astutely, we think of things, we understand things largely through our senses, what we see, hear, smell, touch, whatever. So we see heaven as the little angels, the cherubs, the clouds, the steam or whatever it is, and him with the big white hair, whatever. You know, you Western Christians, you Catholics, whatever, as you used to be, I suppose, can't be called that anymore and write this sort of thing. But you think of, you depict God as a guy with white hair, right? Big white, you know. The Orthodox, they won't even depict God. They depict the hospitality of Abraham. So you see the three angels sitting at a table, each of which represents one of the aspects of the Trinity.
Why are you taking 5 minutes to describe something like this?
Why not?
Why, we know what it is. It's just myth. So what are you going? We need 5 minutes of Greek myth.
Yeah. Why not?
No, we don't need that.
We don't need that.
No.
Well, let's go on to the next point. Then.
Yeah,
What would you say about the theory?
The theory of
Ma.
The theory of Ma.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll ever actually achieve that. I don't know if man will ever achieve that, but it's a wonderful struggle to attempt to achieve that. To imagine now we're able to capture an atom, hold it with magnets, hold it in the air, move it around, manipulate it. Imagine if we were able to get Ma, the ultimate small particle, and be in contact with it, and know that it doesn't change. Although, you know, it's very possible that Ma changes too, because it may be spinning. They're finding that all these subatomic particles have spin to them, and it's very possible that Ma itself. But I don't think that Ma will be made up of these smaller particles anymore.
What will it be made up of?
It'll be made up of the basic core material of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this, you see, the thing is that this Ma can't it doesn't exist alone it existed when the Big Bang took off, when everything exploded in this really hot soup of subatomic particles. It was allowed to exist, but when it cools down, that's after 300. It took 300,000 years for atoms to form after the Big Bang. So in that soup, that subatomic soup, is where these subatomic particles can hang out.
Mm-hmm.
But we may be able to create this particle in the laboratory. It's very possible. It says once.
I want to get into a bit of the practical applications of this, and the dangers possibly of the practical applications of this, because to some extent identity, as we used to think of it, is becoming a little bit passé. For example, people used to identify very much with their religion, less so today. To be Roman Catholic today is probably not, for most people, what it was to be a Roman Catholic 50 or 100 years ago, right? And what I'm wondering is this. If you say to the average person, so to speak, identity is a hopeless hell producing illusion, all right?
It is.
All right, let's say so. Identity is a hopeless hell producing illusion. You take away identity, you do whatever you can to strip yourself of it. Isn't there a danger that there'll become this other class of people, the rulers or whatever, who will use this to make this person who is bereft of identity anymore just an atomized unit to be exploited for their petty illusiona aims of greed and profit and so forth and so on.
You'll just never know. I do talk about the two people inside there, right?
And what I want to say is this. What I want to ask you is this. Well, despite all of the conceivable charges that you may bring against religion, at times, religion has been the brake against absolute political power. At times it has cooperated totally, but at times it can be the moral brake. At least there's some sort of a counterbalance, if you will, against total greed and profit.
When?
When?
Yeah.
Oh, when was it? When Henry IV went to Canossa, for example, and said that he couldn't, ask for forgiveness because he tried to appoint the bishops, and it was, the Pope's prerogative to do that. That's a very bad example, actually.
These churches have always been greedy people. Their only fight has been against the state for power. They held power, and then the states arose, the politicians arose, and took power away from the churches. But it was a time when the church was all powerful, and they steadily lost power. And every year that goes by, they keep losing
really
more.
I mean, you yourself mentioned Constantine. Constantine, during his lifetime, presided over the ecumenical council. You had a pope, or
he
a
was
bishop
the first
of Rome.
pope in a real sense.
In a real sense, yeah. Fascinating character, right?
Well, no, he had a good political sense. He realized that if he could make everybody in the Roman Empire Christian, then that would keep them together. They would the religion functions as a glue.
The family that prays together stays together.
Exactly.
You made a different variation on that, I think, didn't you? Or no? Wasn't it from your book?
I don't know. I haven't read that book for a while.
Why did you write this book, incidentally?
I had to. If I didn't write this book, I think everybody should write a book like this. Everybody should confront their vision of reality and write it down in a book. If I didn't write this book, I would just be saying the same old cliches that I was superficial cliches that I was saying from up till 1996. And now, with this new album, I didn't bring these things out.
Yeah, you should.
Don't forget. We have a new album out.
Mm-hmm. Put it right there. Hold it there.
Immediate Eternity, and we have the book, Immediate Eternity. And don't forget, where I went. These were recorded in Ecuador, and they recorded the book. The book has been translated into Spanish. So this Immediate Eternity is in Spanish, La Eternidad Inmediata, and the album is. I have an album of Immediate Eternity also in Spanish. So this was all done in Ecuador.
What was the reaction of your Ecuadorian, your Latin American audience?
You would think that they would be more conservative, but they're not. They're very open. They're more open than Americans, I think. I think Americans have become very cynical.
Give me some examples. Tell me what people told you.
They're
what
open.
Did you talk
they're
about?
open. They're
say?
open and they're listening.
What did they say?
They're open and they're listening. And they in like the Lincoln Center.
Did you talk to people about it?
In the Lincoln Center of Guayaquil, they want me to give lectures on the book.
All right.
I've never been invited to do lectures of anything in New York City. What? This is a cynical city, so what can I say? The country, I think, is cynical, but
It's materialist.
there
Are they as materialist as we are? I mean, I thought I had the impression that the whole world has become
I
materialist.
think the United States is probably one of the most closed-minded people on the face of the earth. They're really closed-minded. This country, there is mind control going on in this country. You have 5 companies that own all the music. You have 4 other guys that produce all the cable television and the regular television. There's a serious, and these same guys own all the radio stations. They all get together. They have dinner. They have lunch together. They sniff some cocaine, and they produce the programming that's going on and actually taking over the minds of the people who subject themselves to all the public entertainment, so-called entertainment in this country. I really believe that. And they also make the same movies. So it's the same group of guys. They own it all. And the people are being subject. A guy like me has there's no chance.
What do you think of Woody Allen?
Woody Allen, what is it? Woody Allen is a guy just, he doesn't
Curse
say,
of the Jade
he
Scorpion.
doesn't say anything interesting. What does he say? I mean, he has nothing to say. What does he say? He makes you laugh. He doesn't even make me laugh. It's sad. It's sad, really, because this is someone, Woody Allen, this is someone who's living somewhere around 1915, 1920, if it's that much. And he has no real philosophical vision, and he stumbles around trying to make people laugh in some goofy way. And he's not even really a good comic. So what does he stand for? I don't know what he stands for. The thing is that there is serious mind control, and this mind control, you don't really get that mind control in, well, you get it in Ecuador too, but it's probably just as bad.
George Gilson. You have been viewing part 3 of George Gilson's interview of Copernicus on January 3rd, 2002. We'd like to remind our viewers that all information regarding Copernicus is available at his webpage, www.copernicusonline.net. This interview is copyrighted by Nevermore Inc. in the year 20001. Thank you for viewing.